let's make a start with the lemon pudding, and I just want to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. Just move that up a little bit there. Okay, so we're going to start off with apple juice. So the apple juice that I'm using here is 100% pure pressed apple juice. So you want to make sure that it's sugar-free and it's best quality as possible. So I'm going to start off by measuring out 500 millilitres of apple juice and just pouring that straight into the pan. And then I'm going to add in an ingredient here. This, you can see, it's something called Agar flakes it's called on here, or it's also known as Agar, and you can get different varieties of this. So Agar is a seaweed, and it's actually the vegan equivalent of gelatin, and it helps things to set, and depending on the quantity that you use, it's going to create different consistencies. So you can find this in really good health food stores, some oriental stores, and maybe online as well. The company who I get it from is ClearSpring. It's a really amazing company in the UK who stock all kinds of amazing ingredients for cooking. Now it comes in different ways. This way that I'm using it today is in flakes, but you can also get it in powder, in long strips, in bars as well. So you'll need to check your packet just to make sure that you're going to measure out the right quantity. So for this it's saying 1 teaspoon per 250 millilitres of liquid. So in here we have 500 millilitres of apple juice. I'm just looking for my teaspoon, and we're going to use, that is a tablespoon, we're going to use 3 teaspoons, and I can't find my teaspoon measurement, of Agar. Let's see, this is half a teaspoon. Okay, so I'm going to do 6 in here. So just pour this straight into your pan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 3 teaspoons of Agar into your pan, and I'm just going to pop the heat on here. So we want to bring this up to a boil. So you want to have it on a fairly high heat to begin with. So we've added in the Agar. Now, just to speak about this ingredient, because I know it's an unusual ingredient, and just notice if in this moment you are checking out and you're like, okay, she's talking about an ingredient that I don't have, and because I don't have it, I'm not going to then be able to make this. So I just want to stop you right there, because this is a limit, okay? And your creatrix is like, no. So know that this is available to you. It costs about £4 to £5 for a box like this. How much is in here? 30 grams. So it might seem expensive, but you can use this. It has so many different uses. You can use it to make jellies, mousses, things like panna cotta, even like creams, that kind of thing. And it's really packed full of minerals. And so it's an amazing staple to have in your food cupboard. And like I said, it has many uses as well. So I would highly recommend using this. Like I say, you're adding in minerals as well, and it's just a wonderful way of bringing the sea and the sea life and sea plants into your cooking as well. Now, next thing that I'm going to do is add in a pinch of sea salt. So again, I'm always going to highlight the importance of quality ingredients, and here we're using sea salt instead of regular table salt because it has all of its minerals, and it's like whole salt basically that hasn't been processed. So I'm just adding in a little pinch of salt into here, and you might be wondering why that is. So we can consider that overall desserts they have more of a feminine energy about them, and by adding in a pinch of salt, it's kind of like we're honouring the masculine and creating balance. So the salt is helping to do that. And also the salt really helps to bring out sweetness as well. I don't know, maybe you've experienced that, where you find that adding the salt just naturally helps to bring out the sweetness. So another way of saying this is like desserts are more yin, and by adding salt we are adding in a little bit of yang and creating more balance. And it's also another way of adding some more minerals in as well. And so what we're going to do is bring this up to a boil, and we're going to whisk it. I want you to whisk it frequently, until all of the agar has dissolved. But once it starts boiling, then I'll turn it down and simmer it a little bit. So we'll need to do this for about 7 minutes. And what I'll do is I'll set my timer for 3 minutes, because in the halfway mark, we are then going to add in some other ingredients into this. So I'm just setting my timer, and the timer is, I would say, a must-have in the kitchen. I know for me, I don't know about you when you're cooking, but I can often forget that I've put maybe some nuts in the oven to roast, and if I don't set my timer, then I will definitely burn them. So a timer is a must-have in the kitchen. And again, a timer is like the masculine, and I know that I can be in a very feminine space in the kitchen. I can create chaos, and it can just be like this wild place in the kitchen. And so bringing in these things like a timer, it's like bringing in a bit of kind of like masculine structure. And yeah, sometimes that can be very needed. Now, let's talk about desserts in general, because we can ask, the question of how often should we eat desserts? And I think this is a really good question, because I remember before I discovered this way of eating and approaching health, I was really searching for different ways to feel better in my body, and I was trying out all kinds of things. Since I understood that fruit was considered really healthy, my thought process was like, okay, let me just eat as much fruit as possible because this is healthy. So if I eat as much as possible, then surely I'm going to be healthy. And I remember I was quite young. I must have been 14, 15, being at school, and I was given my dinner money, which was £1. And one day I decided that I was just going to buy all bananas for my lunch. And so I just had all bananas for my lunch, because I was on this quest of, like, I wanted to feel healthier. I wanted to do things that felt good and felt healthier. And then in my early 20s, when I was working in London, I started experimenting. And so I'd eat loads of fruit for breakfast. Okay, this is kind of coming up to boil now, so I'm just going to turn that down, and I'm just going to stir it so that the agar flakes in here, if you're not going to stir it, I'm going to use a wooden spoon because this is quite noisy. If you don't stir it, then it can settle on the bottom of the pan and get stuck and burn. So we want to make sure that we are, as much as possible, stirring this. So yeah, coming back to the story, in my early 20s, and I was living in London, and yeah, just again, really wanting to feel better in my body. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have fruit for breakfast, like lots of yogurt, lots of fruit, because that seemed to be like the healthy thing to do. And I just did not feel good after eating that, and I couldn't work out why. And I was doing all these detoxing, like raw foods and detox diets, and I just did not feel good, and I never knew why. I was like, I'm eating all these healthy foods, and surely I'm supposed to feel good, and how come I don't? And I was of this frame of mind, like, okay, well, fruit is supposed to be healthy, all these raw vegetables are supposed to be healthy, but why am I not feeling good? And when I did my training at the International Macrobiotic School and started to see life through the lens of food and life, and how I approach my health through the lens of the divine feminine, I started to understand and to see that everything is energy. And everything is vibrational. That's just kind of like how it is. And basically, what I didn't know was when I was eating fruit, and this was actually having like a weakening effect on my body, on my condition. And yeah, of course, it's a living food. It's packed full of goodness. But for me to have this, especially with my constitution, with my body type, and then with my condition, which was already in a state, this was not good for me. This was not creating balance. It was creating even more depletion, even more weakening. And this was like introducing more feminine energy into my body, into my life. And I was already way in the wounded feminine. I didn't need any more feminine, because that was just going to take me more into the wounded feminine. What I needed to bring me back was some masculine energy, especially from my food. And so this understanding was so powerful, because I realized that unwittingly I was actually, even though I wanted to create more health, I was unknowingly creating more imbalance for myself. And because my condition, like I said, was already weak, to add more fruit to this was adding like this more expansion, and I needed to kind of come in like this. And so this way of eating and living and understanding food, it's about understanding the energetic nature of food, of your own body, of what's happening in your life, of understanding different ingredients and how they can impact you, how cooking them can change the energy as well. And it's like literally becoming an alchemist, this amazing alchemist where you're able to really understand how you can make changes to the food that you eat to create whatever it is that you want to create, and how you can learn to read your body, to read the signs of your body. That it's been such a beautiful journey, just understanding like how desserts can affect us. And so coming back to the question, how often should we eat desserts? It really depends on your condition. It depends if you're in good health. So generally, if you're in good health, then you can kind of eat them about 4 times a week, every other day. But if you are sick, if you have a health condition going on, then you may need to avoid them for a while until you recover. Or maybe it's that you just need to reduce them to maybe once a week or something like that. And this is where it comes to just understanding that we are all different, we are all unique, and what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. What works for your next door neighbour isn't necessarily going to work for you. What's going to work for you is not going to work for someone else. And so this is about us taking time and patience to understand ourselves and to understand the nature, the energy of food. And so this dessert that we are creating today is perfect for the springtime. And the timer just went off, so I'm going to add in the next ingredients into this mix. So we've got our apple juice, our agar and our salt. And now we're going to add in 250 millilitres of lemon juice. So this is pure lemon juice. And so that's going to go straight into the pan. Also going to add in some turmeric, and we're going to do about, where's that little one gone, 1/8 of a teaspoon, and this is going to add and make a really beautiful yellow colour in the dessert, as well as receiving all of the goodness and benefits from turmeric. So we're adding that in there, and then we're going to add in some rice syrup, which I'll talk about in a moment, and some vanilla extract here. So this vanilla extract, this one has just got some water, ethanol and vanilla extract. Oh, I love the smell. And I'm going to add in half a teaspoon there. So just make sure again that you get good quality if you can. Lots of them have chemicals in or have sugar in, so avoid that if that's possible. Okay, so we've added that in, and then I'm going to let that simmer away whilst continuously stirring again for about another 3 minutes, because we want to make sure that all of the agar dissolves properly in there. And then the last thing that I'm going to add is our brown rice syrup. So let me show you. Brown rice syrup here. Can you see that? Yeah, there you go. Oh, I can see some comments. Miranda, hi my love. Oh, it's so good to see you here, or for you to be with me here. I wish I could see you. I was going to do this on Zoom, and I need to work on my technology. Watch this space. So let me add in the rice syrup, and then I'm going to share with you about rice syrup, because I think it's so important that we understand and we know about sweeteners, because us women especially, and if you join me for my last class, The Call of the Mother, you'll understand that we need sweetness, especially women. This is why you'll notice that men and women, women tend to have more sweet cravings compared to men. This is because we naturally need a bit more sweetness compared to men. We're just kind of built that way. It's in our feminine DNA. And so it's really good to know how to bring in healthy sweetness, like divine sweetness, into our diets. So here I'm adding in 1 cup of brown rice syrup. I'm just going to get all of that out and put that in there. And stir that in, and just make sure that you stir it well. I think using a whisk is always better, but because my whisk is so noisy, I've just used the wooden spoon today. So, brown rice syrup. Now the reason why I actually didn't know about brown rice syrup at all, it's like in the last cooking class I said I didn't know about brown rice, and I didn't even know there was brown rice syrup. So as we go into kind of like the subject of sweeteners and sugar, I think it's really important that we start to understand this, because sugar is just so ubiquitous, you know, it's found everywhere and in everything. And once we start to become more present to where it's found and the possible places where it might creep into our diet and then into our bodies, then we can kind of shine light upon our habits and our choices and create the space for us to make change. So many people are really waking up to the damage that refined sugar causes, whilst I think the majority are still ignoring or downplaying the harm that it has and it actually causes. And I want to read, I've got this other quote that I want to read to you, and it's from this guy called Patrick Holford, who wrote this great book, Healing with Whole Foods, and I think it really speaks to the detrimental effects of sugar. So this is all about refined sugar. And so refined sugar delivers high energy and enables one to keep working. This is what patriarchy wants. But unfortunately, it is addicting and contributes to disease and unhappiness. While in very small amounts it can be used as a medicine, in large amounts sugar leads instead to obesity, hypoglycemia, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, anemia, immune deficiency, tooth decay, bone loss. It contributes to herpes, yeast infections, cancer, PMS, menstrual problems, and male impotence. It weakens the mind, causing loss of memory and concentration, nervousness, shyness, violence, excessive or no talking, negative thought patterns, paranoia, emotional upsets such as self-pity, arguments, irritability, and the desire for only sweet things in life. So we can see here that eating refined sugar, it not only affects the body, but it's affecting our mind, it's affecting our mood, and it's creating stress in the body, like unnecessary stress in the body. And it's something that we can really take out, and it can be so avoided. Because if we're eating sugar and it's creating stress in our body, then ultimately that stress is going to be shown on the outside as well. And it's going to be creating imbalance and separation and all this kind of thing as well. So if you're having sugar in your diet, and I'm not just talking about in desserts, but it's in things such as breads, sauces, cereals, it's in juices, in cakes, in biscuits, in chocolate, it's absolutely everywhere, then I just really strongly urge you, even beg you, literally I will beg you to just stop, because it's wreaking havoc in your system and it's creating so much imbalance. And if you don't feel it now, then perhaps you've been blessed with a strong constitution and a stronger condition, but it doesn't mean that it's not affecting you. And so I really want you to consider your relationship with sugar. And so I know there's so many different names for sugar. Okay, there's different types, and it's about us really educating ourselves and becoming aware of all the different names and raising our awareness so that we can begin to make change. So today we've used brown rice syrup, this sweetener, and this comes from a whole grain, and it's not as expansive or as taxing to the body as other sweeteners. So for me, I've always used rice syrup or barley malt. These come from brown rice or from barley, and I find them the most gentle to my body. And I experiment as well. Don't take my word for it. Go out there and experiment. I also like to use maple syrup sometimes for a treat. And I did go through a phase of having coconut sugar, but that does not agree with me now. So I want you to experiment with this and to try it out for yourself and to see, and to start paying attention to where are sugars coming into your diet. Is there anywhere where you could start to replace sugar? So for example, if you're someone who has sugar in your tea, and I know us Brits, our kind of builder's tea, our black tea with milk in it, and sometimes you have sugar in it. If that is what you have, then maybe you can get some brown rice syrup and start having brown rice syrup instead of your regular white sugar. If you have sugar on your cereal or in your porridge, whatever, then find a healthier alternative. There are small changes that we can start to make that are really going to help and are really going to make a difference. And so let me check now this, because I've been stirring it for a little while. Now to check to see if the agar has all dissolved, you can put your spoon in. If you get a spoon and just put it into the pan, and then on the back of the spoon it should be completely clear. You shouldn't have any little specks on there. If there are little specks on there, then that will be the agar flakes, and it means that they've not quite dissolved. So I don't think they're dissolved in there yet. So I'm just going to stir that again for a couple of minutes. So that's one way to check to make sure that the agar is dissolved. Now, as I'm stirring here, let me see, I can see some comments. Let me go in and see. Yeah, Miranda, you've not heard of brown rice syrup either. Yeah, a lot of this that I'm sharing with you, I had no idea of any of this. And it was like discovering a new gold mine of information that I literally feel so blessed to have discovered this. I don't know where my health or my life would be had I not come across this way of eating, this way of like being able to understand my health and my body. And yeah, I feel really blessed, which is why now I want to start sharing it with women, because I think it's so important for us women, us feminine leaders out there in the world, that we really know how to take care of ourselves, so that what it is that we have to birth and bring into life, that we can do so feeling good and feeling nourished and feeling really whole. And so desserts are an important, I think they play such a important part of a healthy diet, especially for us women. And treats, you know, in the modern day, we call them treats, but they actually cause, you know, modern day treats. If you go into a shop and you say, I'm going to have a treat, and you buy, I don't know, some confectionery, a chocolate bar or sweet or something, or a cake or whatever, that is not a treat, because it is actually causing suffering and problems. And we might say, oh, but we'll only have a little bit, but then actually we have it every other day, or a little bit every day, and over time we are building up, we're like adding more and more, and what we're doing is actually harming our bodies and setting ourselves up for problems in the future. And you know what, so much degenerative disease, so many problems can be avoided, can be healed, can be fixed by looking at our diet and by cutting out these things that are causing harm. And the sad thing is that because so many people eat in this way, we think that it's okay. Our mind goes to this place of, well, they're doing it, everyone else is doing it, then somehow, because the masses are doing it, then it must be okay. And we've kind of somehow switched off our ability to just really know and like lovingly and consciously and being able to like truthfully look at what goes into our body. And it's time to change this, because you deserve more, we all deserve more. And so I just really invite you to take stock of your sugar intake in your life and looking at whatever treats you may give yourself, like, are they really treats? And at the same time, we need balance here. I'm not saying that all sugar is bad, all these treats you shouldn't have, but putting it into perspective and recognizing that it's doing more harm than it is good. Okay, so let me check this again. Yes, so I'm not seeing any specks on here. So this final part for this dessert is we're going to then add in some corn flour, or there is another ingredient which I'll show you, but don't be scared, don't be alarmed, don't be put off. This is called Kuzu, and Kuzu is it's a root, and it's a very medicinal plant that can be really good for soothing the stomach, for healing the intestines. So you could use this. This is used as like a thickener, and you can use this. Or today, I just want to show you. I don't want to give you too many like weird ingredients. I know this is already strange for some of you, and the agar is already pretty strange. So I don't want to put you off by overwhelming you with too many strange ingredients. So I'm using some simple corn flour here, and so we're going to use quarter of a cup of corn flour, which I'm going to put into a bowl, and then we're going to dissolve that with some plant milk. So I'm putting my corn flour into a bowl, and I'm going to add in half a cup of plant milk. So again, check that your plant-based milk is sugar-free, and maybe it doesn't say sugar, but maybe it has another word that is sugar in disguise. So this is almond milk, and it's got spring water, organic rice, almonds, cold-pressed sunflower oil, and sea salt. So make sure again that you get good quality. So I'm going to add half a cup into this bowl, and then mix this into a smooth paste. And this is going to add a really nice creamy kind of consistency, texture into this. Now once this, I'm going to add it into this mixture here. and then we're going to need to let this set. So we'll have to put it into the fridge for about an hour, and then it will set, and I'll show you a couple that I've got here that I've already prepared. So with the corn flour, or the kuzu, if you dare to use kuzu, and just mix it all in, and then whilst your mixture here is simmering, then pour it into the pan. And I wish you could see, I don't know if you can see this lovely, it's gone to this lovely yellow colour. So we're just going to mix that in and then turn off the heat. And then this dessert is ready. So we're going to pour it into glasses. And on the subject of, as we're just coming out of sugar, I just want to say as well, because often we can use sugar or we can use foods as a way of avoiding our feelings or a way of like literally sugarcoating our lives. And so we may need some real courage to start to look at how we're using sugar, or how we might be using food in a way that is kind of medicating ourselves and avoiding, like really honestly facing what's going on inside. And so also, instead of focusing on taking things out, focus on what you can add in, and it just feels much nicer, especially for us women. You know, the feminine is so much about receiving. So what can you receive in your diet that is going to feel much nicer? What can you replace in your diet, rather than thinking, okay, I've got to cut out this, I've got to stop this. What can you add in and receive that is going to feel really nice? And so I want to invite you to start making healthier desserts, and to really consciously choose this for yourself as a loving act of kindness, and as a way of you feeding your own feminine in the most healthy and wholesome way. And you can start with this dessert and then stick around, because every Sunday I'm going to be showing you, I'll alternate. So next Sunday we'll do a savoury recipe, week after that we'll do a sweet recipe, and so you're going to get to know different recipes. And all it takes is for you to build up a repertoire, and then you can start playing around with it. So like this recipe, for example, you could add in some berries. So this is where I go, this is one I made earlier. So here is one that I made earlier, and I added in some frozen berries. So there's some red currants and blackberries in there. So you could add in some berries into this as well. And when you pour it into your glass, it's going to set and become this kind of lovely smooth jelly-like consistency. Okay, so I really want to encourage you and invite you to make healthy desserts, and make it a special occasion. You know, slow down, create ceremony around sitting down and taking time to enjoy and receive pleasure from eating the dessert. And you know, create, whether maybe you have a beautiful candle. I lit one here before I started this talk, but you sit down and you have a beautiful candle, and maybe you burn some incense and have some nice music on, and you just take this time, you honor this time as like time for you to nourish your feminine, to just be with yourself and enjoy that sweetness that can come from that moment, and really celebrate yourself for making a choice, for wanting to sit down and nourish yourself in this way. So once you have added in the cornstarch and it's off the heat, then you can ladle it into your containers. So you may want to pop it into some small glasses like so. So you can use your ladle, or you can pour it straight into there from the pan. So I'm just using this little ladle. So we've got that. Or you may want to use a small bowl. And you can just pop that on. And then, like I say, pop this in the fridge and let it set for about an hour. And then it will be ready for you to enjoy. And if you wanted to add a bit more luxury to this, sometimes I do, then I'll use some sugar-free oat cream or some soy cream. Once it's set, like this one, let me show you. Once it's set, like this one, and then you can kind of pour oat cream on the top, and then that also makes it super lovely as well. So I hope that you have found this useful. Let me check the comments. Yeah, oh, this baby destroys me, my peace when eating. Oh, just thinking, oh my goodness, does that mean that you're pregnant, Miranda? Oh, if so, congratulations, and if not, I'm sorry for misreading your message. This baby destroys my peace when eating refined carbs. believing it's a girl. Ah, amazing. Beautiful. Yeah, I think pregnancy brings a whole new ball game to the way we feed ourselves. I think during pregnancy it's good to be more relaxed and to really trust your body, but to avoid, if you're eating sugar, then see if you can replace that sugar with a healthier sugar, because as you are growing your baby, you're eating, certain energies are going into your body, and that's contributing to the constitution, to what kind of body shape and face shape and every body part shape that your baby is going to have. It's mind-blowing. So yeah, I think the more that we can eat well during pregnancy, but widely, not being too restrictive with anything, I think that's really important on that side note of pregnancy. So we are on the hour. It's time to wrap up here. I hope that you have enjoyed what I've been sharing with you today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to next week, to seeing whoever wants to come along and join next week. And until then, I hope you look after yourself and feed yourself well. And if you have any questions, anything come up, then please let me know. Oh, and just to say on the subject of brown rice syrup as well, any good health food shop should stock this. So you may need to find out where your health food shop is, get along there and check that out. Yeah. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again next week. Lots of love.